Planning Institute of Jamaica is reporting that Jamaica's poverty rate is estimated to have dipped to 8.2% in 2023.
Now, the PIOJ says that this represents the lowest poverty rate in the country's history.
Now, details were provided at a press briefing today.
Jamila Maitland has our story.
Jamaica's national poverty rate declined from 16.7% in 2021 to 8.2% in 2023, the lowest figure ever recorded since poverty rates were first measured in 1989.
You think of poverty alone down in a Jamaica? No, sir. Go check PNP. A PNP down even more than poverty, because guess what? PNP cannot survive if them not have poor people for trick, fool, use and abuse.
I think it is important to reinforce for the nation that this massive reduction in poverty, in the prevalence and measurement of poverty, is a big deal for all Jamaicans. There are those who would want to make light of it. But I would quickly remind that were the data pointing in the other direction, much heavy weather would have been made of it. You wouldn't stop hearing all the negatives. It is important that we accentuate this positive news. There is always the issue of reconciling these statistics with the lived experience of Jamaicans. The tool that we use to measure poverty has not changed much. It is a standard tool. We have sought to ensure that our tool that we use to measure is aligned with international standards. And indeed, methodology that we use is robust, well tested, and aligns very well with global standards. So there can be no naysaying or criticizing the results. The results are what they are robustly tested, and you can have great credibility and confidence in the results.
PNP may have some news for you. Please be advised that you do not get to make up your own rules as to what constitutes the reduction of poverty or the reality of prosperity. Uno fi remember too, say the same IMF, what it say, uno government did terrible at the same IMF where I tell other countries for follow Jamaica, because under JLP government, Jamaica has moved from poverty to prosperity. Show our labor rights.
For us, for the government that is, we were always expecting that poverty would be reduced significantly.
People of Jamaica, put your head beside the bell.
Because we have implemented what I would like to describe as instrumental policies, meaning policies that are directly crafted to treat with the specific elements of poverty. The academic perspective on poverty is that poverty has several dimensions to it. You look at the income of the person, the ability of the person to earn and consume. You look at the person's access to knowledge and information, so you're looking at their education levels and how they use that knowledge to innovate and create their economic abilities determined by that. And then you would want to also look at the person's access to amenities, access to healthcare, proper roads.
PNP, uno wicked and lie. One uno try go on like uno care about poor people more than the JLP. You have to look on things such as education, infrastructure, amenities, access, skills, and how people use those things to improve themselves economically. That's why it never made no sense the other day when people talk about the JLP are better at creating jobs, but PNP look after the poor more. Poor people no need to stop make PNP brainwash and fool uno. The JLP have no interest at heart, but uno have to take advantage of the things that are out there for making our life better.
Things like of that nature. There are other elements, of course. You want to look at marginalization, whether or not people are actually included, this issue of inclusion in the society. Those are all metrics and measurements of poverty. And we were very focused on looking at all these dimensions. And in every single dimension, the metrics that would be used to measure, Jamaica has made substantial progress. Now, how do you reconcile these statistics with the lived experience? There are always persons who will say, well, my condition is not better off. I go to the supermarket and my prices continue to rise. Well, you know, I listen to the radio and I hear people say, I don't have water in my pipe. There are still potholes in the road. I wait long when I have to go to the health center. So how is this? How does this make sense? Well, let's step back for a little bit. Minister Charles would have gone through the details about, for example, the minimum wage. Let's look at it from a practical point of view. In 2021, if you were to give the annualized minimum wage, someone would be earning about $468,000 at the minimum wage at that point in time. The poverty line then, which was assessed at the minimum level of consumption, or if you want to flip that, the minimum level of income that someone should be earning, would be about $224,000, thereabout. So someone would be considered absolutely poor if they were earning just below, at or below, $224,000 yearly. So those are the persons who would be considered absolutely poor. But consider what this administration has done, which was instrumental, direct, deliberate. We increased the minimum wage by about 44%. And the minimum wage in 2023, if annualized, would be somewhere around the region of about $677,000, thereabouts. And a person would be considered absolutely poor in 2023 if they were earning at or below $270,000, thereabout. So you can see that the government took a deliberate decision to increase the minimum wage, meaning the earning capacity of the lowest wage earners in the society. So that would have increased their income and their ability to consume. And this increase was above inflation. So you would generally be better off, you'd have more income. But let's not stop at the minimum wage. The government increased the public sector salaries and wage bills significantly, the highest increase that has ever gone on in the history of Jamaica, significantly. Now I know there are issues, there are still issues with various sector groups trying to resolve, but you can't naysay that, you can't deny that there has been a substantial increase in the public sector wage bill, significant, and that would have introduced to households more income.
Essentially, we have a very difficult task ahead of us.
But put those two aside, say those weren't significant. What is significant, however, is the reduction in unemployment. So households that didn't have persons employed now have employed members of their household. So the household income, by virtue of that, would have also increased. Now, let's be clear, we are not here saying that we are satisfied with the wage level. No one can argue that everybody wants more pay. Yes, we're working towards that, but if you weren't working before and now you're working, you have more income. And so that has had a massive impact on the absolute poor in Jamaica.
Put your head beside the bed.
So this issue, which I've heard being said that our government focuses on trickle-down economics, meaning that we only focus on making businesses work and focusing on the high-level macro stuff. That's absolute rubbish. There could be no greater lie told on government policy than that.
It gives me like a crying feeling.
This administration has been the most focused on treating with the microeconomic elements of poverty, dealing with the social safety net, putting in place things like the social pension, which didn't exist before. We are now looking at unemployment insurance, didn't exist before.
Lord of the third term, we are Lord.
We're loading.
Giving access to training in heart and all the programs that we have put in that would have enabled households to access employment. All of these are deliberate strategies, not giveaways.
Madam Speaker, allow me to demonstrate to the people of Jamaica that the promises from the opposition will create FinSAC 2.0.
Not wishful and fancy things to just spend, but things that make you able to earn from your labor and your talent. We have been very instrumental, and I think that has been a critical part of the success of our program in alleviating and addressing poverty.
And not just taxes PNP rob, you know. PNP rob poor people of the dignity of trying to do something or to put their talents and their skills to good use so that they can make money. The Bible says that your talent bring you before great people and even kings in a man. But when PNP deliberately keep people poor to use them for votes during election time and not encourage them to use them potential and them skills, this is what happens. Most of the people in Jamaica who fall below the poverty line or who are living at the poverty line are PNP. That need for change.
So what it means is that there are less persons in Jamaica that could be considered absolutely poor. What is the objective? No. What's the next step of the government? The next step of the government is to end absolute poverty in Jamaica. This is something that I have said before, and it is the intention. At 8%, we are within striking distance of that. We can end absolute poverty. But of course, once you reach to that point, you're going to set a different threshold, a much higher threshold. So you're in a different level now. And that's the idea. So we want to ensure that we push this poverty prevalence number way down. And then at that point, we can revise what's the new threshold for somebody to be considered living at or below the poverty line. So it's quite doable. It is within our capabilities to do it, but we must continue with the strategic policies. We must continue the training of our young people so that they can continue to work and earn from their labor and talent. We must continue to improve the social services, the access to amenities, and we must continue to ensure that our marginalized population is protected by a very effective social safety net. And in that regard, the Minister of Labour and Social Security has been tasked, and he gives us updates pretty regularly about how we're going to revise the PATH program. I get too many complaints of persons who believe that they should be on the program and are not on the program, and from those persons complaining that there are persons on the program who they know should not be on the program. So really, there has to be a review, and I know that the review is ongoing, but the efficiency of the program is also an issue as well, how people get their benefits and how timely those benefits are. So we're digitizing that process. The minister, I'm certain, will come with a further update. But we're also looking at ensuring the inclusion element for those persons who are marginalized and in vulnerable situations where they are not able in and of themselves to access these benefits. And there are many Jamaicans like that. They may be in rural areas, they may be in some inner city communities, and they are of the notion that if they present themselves to the state, they're going to be rejected, or they're going to be subject to something that might demean them. And that is absolutely not true. So what we're going to be doing is very shortly rolling out the Solidarity Program. And the Solidarity Program is designed to treat with those persons who have not gotten any of the social benefits. They are not on the social pension. They are not registered on any of the programs of PATH. They are not in HEART. So we're going to find them, and they will get their cash grant, and we will assist them in bringing them into the formal system. And that will have another major impact on addressing poverty by dealing with the exclusion element. In other words, including all the people in the population who we have not yet reached. So I just thought I'd come and share this perspective with you. Thanks for listening. God bless you, and remember to always choose Jamaica.
Are you ready to go? Are you ready to go? You know you're ready to go. You're ready to go. This is Ghana.
Man, God bless me.